Cindy Priner and I we teamed up and we put together the 2016 Inspired Wisely, I keep wanting to say journal, but that was last year. This is the planner. It is still at the printers, so it's coming, and I will be able to tell you more. I know it's funny, it'll already be in January. But one of the fun things that we added to it was this sheet of paper that you have in here. And each month, to be able to take a chance to look at what went well in your life, your personal life and your business life, and to be able, what went well, what didn't go well, and what things that you want to change for the next month. That's in there, but there's also going to be a sheet each month where you can put down your wise notes, which Cindy Pedersen and I talked about a lot, how we have all these different notes from all the different meetings that we go to. And the great thing about this is when you have your Wise Mastermind, you can come with a question that you want to talk to the other ladies about, and you can actually write down the advice that you were given, some of the feedback, and you can also write down their contact information. There's so many times that I hear women say, "Who was that lady I sat with?" And I try to remember, okay, who was at this front table? Who was, So that's a chance for you to be able to have that, and all of that will be available in the planner as well. So I'll have more information once I get that back. Sorry to not have it available. But for today, let's go ahead and look at this side, the what happened in 2015. I love the end of a year, or each quarter I kind of do this in my own personal life, where I really do take time to reflect on what went well. Because it's so important for me to celebrate victories, because I can get caught up quicker than anything in the woe is me, the challenges, and here's this challenge and here's that. And if I don't celebrate my victories, then I'm lost. Is anybody else like that? Okay. So 2016, let's work on that together. You can hold me accountable and I can help you with that. Let's celebrate the little things. The other day, something came up and it was just the smallest little insignificant thing, and I was at my computer and my husband and my kids were sitting in the other room, right, where they could see me, and I just threw my hands up and I went, yes! And they're like, what? I'm like, it's really not that big of a deal, but it was a small victory and I needed just to have that celebration, and they thought that was hilarious, But how many times do we need to do that? Take that time for that. So I want you to take a moment and think of, you can focus on, for right now, go ahead and focus either your personal or your business, either one that you want to choose. And let's look at what went well in 2015 for you. Go ahead and just write a few things down, and I might have you share if you'd like to. So. I'm going to take a second and share with you one of the big things that went really well for me and that I loved in 2015. And I had a point where I was able to sit down, both in business and personally, and get some real clarity in what it is that I wanted to do. Being able to grow and go forward, and I was able to really stop and think about all the things that we talk about and whys, times of fearlessly falling forward, and all of these ideas and principles that we talk about, whether Judy and I were talking about them on the radio or talking about them here. And I really sat down and implemented that in my life. And I got some real clarity. And that was just an amazing feeling to, stop the noise, stop everything else going around me, and take that time to clear off the lenses and look at where I wanted to go forward. And so that was a huge victory for me in 2015. Does anybody have a couple that they want to share? Some things that went well?
I will.
Sheila.
Yeah. So I wrote a book a few years ago. I revised it last year, and I actually heard from someone who is an acquisitions person for libraries that it was really well written. And right now it's at a publicist, and next Friday, not this Friday, but next Friday I have a conversation with her about finding a publisher.
Oh
So
my
that
gosh.
was you.
That is awesome.
Thank you.
I love it. What's the name of your book?
Well, it's in transformation, but I think it's going to be called Decoding the Shamanic Journey.
Ooh, very cool.
Yeah. Right now it's called Journeys of Transformation. So I'm vacillating between the two. So, yeah. If you have a preference, let me know.
Yeah, you know, actually, would you, on our Wise page, would you put those two?
Sure.
And that you can get some feedback from other wise
Great.
women.
Yeah, thank you.
So if you wouldn't mind afterwards, ladies, going on and jumping on the Facebook page and giving her some feedback on that.
Cool.
So, does anybody else have something exciting they want to share from 2015?
I got out of my comfort zone and started my own business.
Yes, yes.
That was a big one. And then on the personal level, I also let love in my life again.
That's awesome. Cheers.
So in 2015, I got comfortable in my new business, and I opened an account, which is not just a little one. The Nordstrom's grandchildren actually own this business, and it has 10 businesses statewide right now that are
Wow.
growing and are actually going to. Right now, the plan is to add up to 200 new stores in the next couple of years.
Way to go. Awesome. Very cool. Here, let me give you the microphone. Go ahead. They couldn't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Should I say it again?
Yep, yeah, please.
So in 2015, after getting comfortable in my business, I met with the HR person for one of the companies owned by the Nordstrom's grandchildren, called Weldon Barbers, and right now they have 10 established stores statewide, and their plan is to grow up to 200 in Washington, Oregon, and California within the next couple of years. And I opened that account in the end of 2015.
Wow. Awesome. That's awesome. I love it. Marilee?
Well, I was going to say that I worked really hard last year.
You did work really hard last year, yes.
I did work really hard. And half the time I didn't make any money because I was working with someone who's transitioning out of the business and getting into their business. But it all came, I'm working with some fabulous guys in my office. They're younger than I've aged my kids. But they're darling and they're helpful, and it's going really, really well now since I received the book business. So I do my groceries.
Yay! We like when that happens, yes.
What does she do?
Marilee, will you share what you do?
Oh, I'm a financial advisor with Private Financial. We're a Christian member-owned financial firm. So it's hard to start a new business. It really is. So hang in there. It's okay to hide in your bed at night and be back up in the morning while it's going.
That's very true. Well, you know, it's funny because a lot of times I went through a coaching program over this last year, and every week when we come to that coaching program, they would actually they would have us talk about our fat failure. And did you have to go through this? And that drove me nuts. I don't want to look at the negative things in my business. Do you like my tone? I don't want to. I want to be positive all the time. But you know, what happens when you do that is you don't get real with yourself, you know, and you're able to look at the things that, you know, aren't going as great as you had hoped. You can get real and start to be able to adjust those. So that's why on this sheet of paper that there is, you know, what didn't go well in 2015. So if you want to just take a few minutes and kind of write that down, that might be something that you want to look at a little bit later. Anna?
I think the difference is to not judge yourself. It's just about what is the truth and suspend the judgment. And that's how you learn, right?
Did everybody hear that? Do you want to? So to not judge yourself.
Right. As you do it.
As you do it.
Judging yourself and say judging go away, come again another day.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, write down the reality of what happened.
I love it. Write down the reality, the fact of it, and not judge yourself for it. That's good. Anna's always got great stuff. I just have to, if you get a chance to sit down with her, oh my goodness, she's always got great stuff. So go ahead and take a moment and write out a few things there. I'm giving you lots of work today, but this is good stuff. On a personal level, I'll share, at the beginning of last year, my husband and I had some financial struggles. And by being able to sit down and really look at those things and write it down, and say, here was a struggle that we went through. The great thing was this next step of what needs to change for 2016. I realized I don't want to stay stuck in that place anymore. And that's the benefit for me of looking at things when they didn't go well. I don't want to stay there. I want to make a change, and I want to be able to grow in this next year, this next season, whatever it is. And so that's why I find it very important to be able to stop and look at what went well, what didn't go well, and what needs to change. So I'm going to leave that what needs to change part up to you to look at a little bit more. As you're going through the rest of your day, or maybe while you're in your mastermind time, you can do that. But here's what I want to talk about. Once you figure out what needs to change, sometimes that how then gets a little bit overwhelming, right? I know, like I said, starting, I feel like I'm starting a new business now and going, what do I do? And it's like, no, okay, I do know some things here. I've done this already, and so pulling from the resources that I know. But the very first thing that we ever did with Wise, and I love that we did this, is we decided that we were going to develop a wisdom council. And Judy and I together, and our original, one of the other co-founders, we said, we don't have all the answers, and we can't do this by ourselves. And so what we chose to do is look at the areas that we wanted to grow, and the areas that we knew that weren't our genius work, that we could really, use some help and some advice in. And so we sat down and looked at, when we started Wise, for those of you who don't know, we started as a nonprofit. And the three of us that were together, none of us knew anything about a nonprofit. So we knew we were going to have to go find somebody who had some experience with that. So we went and asked somebody who had experience with nonprofit to be a part of our wisdom council. We also started looking around at women that we thought that we had a lot of respect for in business, how they ran their business, had different skill sets, and we asked them to be a part of this wisdom council. And I kind of joke a lot, and you'll understand this, but I love, I call Juanita, a wise mama, because she's always been a part of that wise council. And to be able to, she's an established woman in business and very connected in her community, and we were able to ask a lot of questions and be able to lean into and learn from her. So, we had all these different people. We were very purposeful on who we talked to about being on our wisdom council originally. And, then when we were big girls and we were starting our own business and not for profit, we changed from being a nonprofit into a for-profit business. We thought, okay, now we have to do it ourselves. We can't have a wisdom council now because we have to, like everybody else, we just have to do our business and be strong and know everything now. Does anybody else know everything? Okay, good, I'm not alone. And I just recently had come across this whole idea again where I saw a lot of people started talking about, even if you're not, in a nonprofit, developing your own wisdom council. And it's like, oh yeah, why don't we go back to that? I mean, that's what we're doing here, right? When we get together, you're sitting down with other women and leaning into what, maybe challenges that they've faced and being able to ask questions. Why don't we do that on purpose? why don't we develop that kind of community around us? And so I started doing a lot of research on this. And when it's hard when you're in business and you see other businesswomen who are trying to grow their own business, you don't want to tap into them maybe because you'll be pulling them from their business, or I don't know, other excuses that we could come up with for that. But to be very purposeful and think, let me back up for a second. The first thing that I did when I was revamping this idea of looking at a wisdom council is I actually sat down and I looked at the women that I really admire in business and thought about what is it that I admire about them in their business. What skill sets do they have, that I could ask them questions. And I wrote those names down, and I was very, the things that I looked at, kind of getting off track here, sorry. Let me go back to my notes here for a second. I wrote down different women that I really admired in business, and I thought about the traits that I really liked in them and that I wanted to develop, and I started having conversations with these women. And there is a difference between, Tracy, I know you talk about this a lot. A lot of people want to tap your brain, and I really tongue-tied on my words, sorry. There's a difference when you're looking for a wisdom council than going to somebody for their services. It is a matter, I wouldn't go to Kim and say, hey Kim, could you just work out all my mortgage stuff for me? No, I'm going to go talk to you, and we'll do that. It's not a matter of just giving me all the advice in the world. Another thing that I see a lot of people doing is wanting to trade service. And that is a great thing, but I'm not going to be able to go to Lana and say, hey Lana, can I offer you some Weier sessions for my insurance? Is that okay? We can do that, right? Farmers is totally fine with that. We wouldn't want to do that. And a lot of times we wouldn't want people to just do that to us as well. So when you are looking at your wisdom council, there is that balance of being able to lean into other people as a woman in business and be able to pull, together and bounce ideas off of each other. But then also just be very careful, please, and be respectful of another woman, of supporting her in her business. Does that make sense? Tracy, would you mind? Could you expand on that a little bit? Because
no, I was just thinking, I have so much to say.
And I knew I could feel it here. So see, this is me tapping into other resources here.
Okay, I'm gonna stand up because
Come here.
Who just said that? What a surprise that I took the microphone. I actually hired a presentation coach this year to help me with my speaking business. And she's also my accountability partner. So I talk to her every morning, Monday through Thursday, and we set our intentions for the day and our plan. I am very clear with her that that's our accountability time, and it's not my time to get extra coaching that I pay her for.
Yes.
So, and I mentioned this, I actually said something about this at eWomen Network yesterday, that I know there's a line for me when I'm asking you for a quick piece of advice and when I am crossing the line. And I think not only is it my responsibility to say, you know what, I should really be paying for this, you all need to be very clear when they're crossing the line. And you need to believe in yourself enough to know, you know what, this is advice I get paid for, and be willing to say, to stop the conversation and you go, you know what, we really need to talk about an agreement here, an arrangement. Yeah. So it's not just our responsibility as business owners, but it's a mutually, it has to mutually benefit, right?
Yes.
So.
Thank you, Tracy. I love Tracy that I can put her totally on the spot there. But she's one of the women in my life that I looked at, that she sets that up for herself. That, this is where my line is, and I love that. And that's helping encourage me to, rise to that level as well. So we are going to go into our mastermind. we're gonna touch back on this at the very end, and I actually have some cards for you. And I'm gonna have you fill out areas that you would like, some look, my goodness, so sorry, you guys.
It's the first week of January.
I'm getting better with my concussion, but I'm still kind of got that brain fuzz going on. We are going to look at some of the areas. I'm going to have you write down some areas that you would like to be able to tap in to other resources here in WISE. And then I'm also going to have, if you have something that you feel that you could help and offer to somebody else, that's not part of your business, not part of your service but something that you could just, in an accountability group, you could offer. So we'll have a chance to do that at the very end. So, all right, ladies, let's go ahead and we're gonna my goodness, this is a perfect time to transition. All right. We are going to, on the back side of that paper now, you can see that we have a chance. Why don't we go ahead at the very beginning and just get the awkward part of the, why don't you ask the ladies at the table their names and their contact information so you can have that right away at the bottom. So let's do that before we get started with the mastermind. I'm gonna go get another drink of water and then we'll talk about what we're gonna do in mastermind.